me like a Hellcat.
What is Descenders? Well, according to the developer, Descenders is an extreme downhill mountain biking game for the modern era with procedurally generated worlds. Will you lead your team to glory and become the next legendary Descender? Well, that's an interesting question, because there aren't that many mountain biking games around. We've had quite a few in the past years, but most have been more arcadey. That sounds oxymoronic to say there have been quite a few. There are a lot of bike games. There aren't many specific mountain biking games, though. We've had games like Shred and Shred 2, which is a bit more like the Matt Hoffman Pro BMX style. Lonely Mountain Downhill, a lot more kind of animated cartoony, Bike Unchained, Bike Mayhem, and Trail Boss, all of which are focused on individual features. Descenders is not only the prettiest of the games so far, but I think it's one of the more realistic, and that's something that, as a mountain biker myself, I have found most fun about this game. From a gaming point of view, and I'll talk about that first, Descenders is a level-based game. You have 4 worlds to conquer, you have multiple levels, boss jumps, stunts and points, the typical array of how games tend to work. What's really cool about Descenders though, is that no one map will ever be the same. There are certain stunts that may be set features, especially the boss jumps, one of which you'll see later, but they're never going to be the same. You may never see bales of hay rolling across the same track twice. You may never get the same sequence of jumps. The track may never be quite the same place. It's procedurally generated, and I think that makes it a lot more fun. You get a lot more unique levels and experiences. No one playthrough of one area will always feel the same, which does mean you can't learn the levels. So you don't get those try-hard play-by-numbers gamers who can just get it right, because they've memorised everything. Descenders, to me, as a gamer, is about getting the skills right. Learning how to actually control the bike, learning how to ride it, how to perform the stunts, judge distances and speeds, because that is way more critical than you think, and we'll get to that later. Is it fun? Absolutely. If you like doing stunts on bicycles, it's a lot of fun. If you just like riding bikes, it's a lot of fun, because there aren't many games that give you the same ability and perspective as Descenders. Most of the other games all tend to have features like weird camera angles, or they're side view based. But Descenders gives you the option. You've got your typical third person view, which could do a bit more work on the characters personally, if I'm going to be brutally honest. The world, however, is stunning. It just feels like the biker and the clothing is a little bit less so. First person, which you will see shortly, this is one of the boss maps you're seeing now. First person is phenomenal. It feels just like riding a mountain bike. But as you'll see shortly, all you see is hands. You don't see the forearms, which looks a little bit weird. But I can imagine animating the arms and them crossing up in certain positions could be difficult. So I see it, I take it, it doesn't matter. I think that is the Hogwarts Express, actually. We jump it later. This is one of the boss levels from the first world, Highland, which of course, being from England, definitely has a certain attraction to it. I've ridden up in Scotland and yeah, it looks a lot like this, although the tape has definitely not been there when I've been riding. But from a gaming point of view, Descenders is fun, it's challenging, and there are no easy modes, there are no simplifications. There is a progression system, which we will come to, but in general, you have to master the art of riding. Is this a game you can play on keyboard and mouse? Certainly. Will you find it much easier on a controller? Absolutely. The critical mistake I make here is thinking, oh, it's a big jump, I need lots of speed. And Descenders will punish you for not getting the speed right on a jump, just like real life, because you land flat from a big height, you're going to go splat. So the trick is to manage your speed on approach to some of these jumps, make sure you're going just fast enough, rather than too fast. And as the Hogwarts Express just about clears the rails, I would have hit it if I'd done that jump, but we land it. Perfect. And that's one of the things that's close to reality, is you can mess these up. It's not that you land flat, like in some of these stunt games. You're fine. No. Descenders works on this map-based system, as you can see. You progress through nodes, you advance, you get towards the boss jumps. Each world you complete in different skill points has perks. Success in these maps leads you to new crew skills. Crew skills make certain things easier. Ability to change your speed, land better, manage the balance of the bike in the air slightly better. You can also unlock new features and team sponsorships. These will allow you to actually wear their branded clothing, get perks from those teams, which does feel a bit more like you're a pro rider in a way, which is a fun little fantasy, especially for mountain bikers who aren't perhaps UCI quality. Speaking from a mountain biker's perspective, which is something I really wanted to cover in this video, is that as a rider, and I'm not a pro, I'm not Rich Latherton, Tanny Seagrave, or Miriam Nicole, no, not even close. Ouch, close. But as a mountain biker, this game feels amazing, because it's one of the first games I've found that makes it actually feel like I'm riding. Am I able to jump steam trains and massive treacherous rocks? No, not at all. But a lot of the bike handling does feel very familiar. The way you have to actually lean the bike separately from just turning the handlebars to get high-speed cornering right is definitely true, and the first-person perspective is very realistic. They've gotten the field of view great, the actual positioning on the bike feels awesome, and you do genuinely feel like you're riding that bike. This perspective looks basically like a GoPro chest mount. It feels about right. The actual handling is natural, the way the bike balances, what you can do with it. The only thing that I'm about is the lack of gears perhaps, because that does become something quite critical. I do find the pedalling sometimes derpy, that you can't pedal up hills perhaps, but it is what it is. Of course, you are tentatively going a lot faster than you would be in real life when you're on these things, so the game does allow you to live out that fantasy of being a pro UCI rider. Unlike me, wouldn't be smashing through berms like that. But the game's real attraction is the little things. It's the fact that when you go through the tape, you don't just morph through it. It tears and flutters. That's very realistic. Hitting a flagpole or something will take you off the bike. Hitting a tree will basically knock you out. And the rollers definitely upset you if you don't get your pump right. That's one thing I've yet to master myself. But for a rider, there aren't many games that have felt this good. This game feels truly natural. The motions do feel right, and whilst again I do go too fast sometimes because it's a game, it feels realistically punishing. Is it going to teach you to ride like these guys? No, it's not. But at the same time, you will definitely get a lot of enjoyment from it. And some of the stunts in this game, when you complete them properly, they actually feel pretty darn good. When you complete some of these motions, it feels awesome. Which is exactly what we play these games for. We get that sense of fantasy that we are able to do these things. Now this final part, this is the menu, if you will. This is the opening sequence of the game. This is where you start out. It combines training level and the customization area in one organic zone. This is the only permanent location in the game, these training levels. There are 3 or 4 of these training runs, if you will, with different features like multiple jumps, like curves, like obstacles, and it allows you to basically hone your skills in terms of handling the bike before you take it out on the procedural trails. To me, this is a fantastic feature. These things are fun in their own right, and sometimes you can get a little creative with them and do things perhaps you didn't intend, but from what I've seen of the rest of the game, I don't think the Descenders developers ever actually make a mistake with this. I think they allow you these things to make it more interesting to see what you'll do with them. Unfortunately, you can fly through those barricades a little bit. It becomes a little bit more, yeah. Unlike the actual game where you will stop as soon as you pass the finish line, here you don't, so you smash into things. But the big berms, carrying the speed, that's actually one of the trickier abilities, to manage how you lean that bike over in the corners, as well as cornering, because one will just mean you wash out, and one means you actually make it around at speed. And that's something from the real world that you do need to remember. Of course, after that, you have the shed. Every biker has a shed, right? In the shed, you can go through your bike liveries, options, different bikes, clothing options, and all sorts of things, even down to your goggles, their colour, your helmet. As you can see, I've not unlocked all of the features yet. I have several of them, but there are loads of options for customization of the character, which just adds to that personalization feel. What might have been nice is the option for a male or female rider. Seeing as they don't really speak, it's kind of a moot point, but there is a growing, if not far, far bigger proportion of female riders in the sport now. It'd be nice to see some options. Guys, if you're listening. Nah, they're probably not. Either way, all the cool features, you can customise yourself to your heart's content. I do like the fact you can change your name away from your Steam name as well, which adds a little bit of colour. And yeah, bunny hopping off tables and wheeling until you fall off and look like an idiot. No one said I was perfect. Although I did feel a little bit like Danny McCaskill when I pulled this one off, riding up a beam onto a rooftop and backflipping off it. I mean front flip. Who's counting, right? Descenders though, what do I think of it? As a game, it's a lot of fun. The progression system is interesting and definitely unique with the boss levels to unlock those areas permanently. But more importantly, as a rider, this is one of the best mountain biking games I've seen to date. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.
Feel me like a Hellcat.